For the love of Spock, will somebody get me some bigger ears? No, but in all seriousness, we're going to be reviewing For the Love of Spock, the new documentary about Leonard Nimoy and his most famous role, Spock. We're also going to be talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy's new trailer for Volume 2 and some big Star Trek casting news for the television series Discovery. All that and more on today's Sci-Fi Weekly.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Sci-Fi Weekly.
Hey there, sci-fi nerds. Welcome back to Popcorn Talk and Sci-Fi Weekly, the show where we analyze everything that's going on in science fiction, whether it's movies, television, books, comics, whatever we have time to yell and nerd out about. I'm your host, Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ThatZachWilson. You can also follow the show itself on Facebook and Twitter at Sci-Fi Weekly. Be sure to subscribe to the Popcorn Talk on YouTube at Popcorn Talk Network or on Twitter at The Popcorn Talk. Jesse Klein, a little under the weather. He's a busy man, as busy as he is tall, which is very much so. So he unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. Sent him some Twitter love at JessKlein1. But we got Megan Salinas joining us in studio today.
Hey everybody, you guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin, and I just love this little gizmo that's right in front of me. It's so cute.
Megan was very excited by the amount of toys that I have on the desk here.
Yeah, you got a little Captain Marvel over there, Star-Lord. Oh gosh.
I got more.
Is that Ant-Man?
Yeah, there's a little Ant-Man, the Planet Express ship. Those of you who are listening have never seen this, but I have Doc Brown, Agent Coulson, a monolith toy from 2001. They really manufactured that, and I paid money for it.
Is that the Arbiter from Halo?
That is what that
Sweet.
is. And of course Gizmo. And a lunchbox of the TARDIS. But anyway, so we got a lot of news today, and let's just get started. We'll get to the movie review towards the end of the show. But I've got a lot of news to talk to you about.
Speed! Go!
That's right. Alien Covenant released a photo for Ridley Scott's birthday that shows off the pilot from the original Alien, seemingly alive and well now. Don't worry, Mr. Space Jockey. I'm pretty sure that for Ridley's birthday, you're going to get straight up murdered by a chest burster. Just enjoy it while you can. Following the hit crossover special Supergirl, they've confirmed that they're going to do 2 episodes with none other than, that's right, Megan, Mr. Mixelpix. I swear to God, they're doing Mr. Mixelpix. Mr. Mixelpix is a strange little, like being in a bowler hat from the 5th dimension who is coming to constantly break the 4th wall. This is Supergirl's 3rd crossover series with DC CW's 2nd superhero, The Flash. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the first time that a primetime superhero is going to be singing in a musical. They've teased us with the musical already, and now they're telling us Mr. Mixelpix is coming, who bends dimensions and messes with stuff. I can't imagine that it's not the same
already
thing.
on board. That's amazing.
There's a downright bevy of Jurassic World 2 news to talk about. The Get Down's Justice Smith is going to be joining the cast in an unknown role. And meanwhile, Frank Marshall has said that it's a very strong probability that B.D. Wong, the only cast member to make it all the way from Park to World, will be continuing on in the series with the sequel. But the biggest news is perhaps the most insane and ridiculous, because Colin Trevorrow, the director of the first movie, tweeted out a photo from the costume department's inspiration wall or whatever, just what they're putting together, and he just sent it to Bryce Dallas Howard. And if we could throw that up, computer, on the screen, he literally just sent her a picture of the shoes that they're gonna put her in for the new movie.
It's fine, here, boots.
Yeah,
Practical
so she's
shoes.
gonna be in boots. There go all of our memes and jokes. What the hell are we gonna make fun of?
Probably just the plot this time around.
If she's wearing sensible clothing. So thanks for that, Trevorrow. Anyway. Merry Christmas! Christmas to Sense8 fans. The Wachowskis, I think the Wachowskis made that show, right? Got you a Christmas special.
Ooh.
Because on December 23rd, Netflix is going to be premiering a special episode of Sense8. Christmas usually has popcorn balls, but since season 2, after this special won't be dropping until May, I think Sense8 fans are more going to be having blue balls.
Oh, jeez.
In Rogue One news, Kathleen Kennedy said that there is no sequel to Rogue One being made. It's just going to be a standalone film, and that's probably for the best, because can you imagine explaining to your mother that you're going to see the sequel to the prequel of the movie that's already had 3 prequels, but only in the in-between years that there's also sequels to that original equals. No Rogue 2 is the news.
I mean, it was hard enough trying to explain The Force Awakens to my mom. So literally, when the credits rolled, she goes, "So who's Rey's parents? Who's Rey's father?"
It's like,
It was.
don't worry
It turned into an interesting conversation.
Sad news for geeks that we're looking forward to a new show that we got this week. Kevin Smith has officially dropped out of the Buckaroo Banzai TV show adaptation of the hit 80s movie. He did this amid news that MGM is suing the original creators of Buckaroo Banzai because there's a dispute over the rights. It became a very hairy situation, and Smith just decided to remove himself, saying that he was simply doing the right thing. How did he make this announcement? Not in Variety or The Hollywood Reporter or through his agent. Facebook Live from his mother's backyard, which is like the most Kevin Smith thing ever, and I love it. In better news, we can just keep moving forward because Luke Cage is getting a season 2 officially. Luke Cage is officially coming back for another season. No word yet on who's going to return for the series and who's not, or when exactly it's going to premiere, because all the Netflix shows in development for Marvel. But we are currently taking bets on how many times Pop's Barbershop is going to be leveled.
All the times. All of the times.
Once per episode.
If it's not...
the current bet. All right, that's going to do it for Ludicrous Speed. Let's hit that emergency break and talk about some more, some bigger news.
Sounds good.
All right. Computer, you can kill the music. I know we're moving fast, but just hit the brake. Computer's out of control,
No!
guys.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. We're
All right.
slowed down. We're slowed down.
Thank you, computer.
Ludicrous Speed is just too much to handle.
Yes, okay. But now we got to talk. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is quickly approaching.
Yay!
Oh, man. I'm very excited.
You don't say.
This movie, and I thought we could watch the trailer together. Megan, you haven't seen this yet, right?
I haven't.
Right.
I purposely avoided it until the right moment, and I think this is the right moment.
All right, so let's take a look at the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, the second teaser that they've put out, and it's absolutely amazing.
I am so jazzed.
The fate of the universe
There's
lies on
the
your
squid
shoulders.
monsters they've been teasing with art.
Now, whatever you do,
Oh, jeez.
don't push this button. Because that will set off the bomb immediately, and we'll all be dead. Now, repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
No! That's the button that will kill everyone! Try again.
I am Groot. Mm-hmm. I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I'm Groot.
Oh my gosh.
It's so, like,
This is magical.
Showtime, a-holes!
kicking into some 80s music, big special effects. Like, some of this we've seen. Supposedly those are Ravager ships chasing him, which makes sense, lines up with what we know. I like that we're seeing, like, pretty much most of this seems to be from, like, just a small collection of sequences.
Yeah.
anybody have any tape out there? I want to put some tape over the death button.
Nobody has any tape.
Not a single person has tape.
You have an atomic bomb in your bag. If anybody's gonna have tape, it's you.
I have to do everything.
You are wasting a lot of time.
That's a really bad sign.
But yeah, like I think like that's fun. But wait, it's not over.
If I touch someone,
Mantis!
their feelings. You feel love.
Yeah, I feel like unselfish love for just about everybody.
No, sexual love.
No, I don't.
For her.
No. You just told everyone your deepest, darkest secret.
Dude, come on. I think you're overreacting a little bit.
You must be so embarrassed.
Dave Bautista is being ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yeah, I'm finally clicking over to join you guys in the chat as well. So thank you for those of you who are joining us live. That was ridiculous.
That
this trailer
was fantastic. Just again, like you said, the effects look fantastic. It looks like they still have the same sense of humor that made the movie so appealing in the first place. And I like what you said too about this just being like a series of sequences because it gives nothing away about the overall plot, and I love that.
The battle with I forget what it's called offhand. The space squid.
The giant monster with the teeth, yes, and the tentacles.
Yeah. Supposedly, like the room, like what I heard when they first put out that the concept art with that creature is that's going to be the opening sequence of the film. So like, is them fighting this? So like, if all we're getting is like a reveal of like the opening sequence, great. That's what a trailer should be using.
Exactly.
And we see the bridge sequence that we've already seen in previous trailers. I'm excited about that.
I am too.
The one thing that like does give me a little bit of worry. I love the stuff they're doing with Baby Groot. And like the like rocket, like the reversal of their sizes.
No.
It's adorable. I hope that they don't lean too much. Like the only like Baby Groot is great
and adorable.
But the
yes.
fact that they're leaning into it, the only reason it worries me is that like Baby Groot was like the unintentional breakout like thing from that movie that they never thought was gonna be this blow up
the
like
thing that everybody wanted to get a toy of to put on their
exactly.
desk.
And
or maybe they did know and they just sat and waited.
They're running with it. I just hope that they don't lean on the stuff from the original movie too much and they really make this its own thing as a sequel.
Yeah, a lot of sequels, you run into the potential of doing that because you want to walk that fine line of keeping the spirit and having some running jokes from the original that people love, but then you also run the risk of just doing the same movie over again. And if you're going to do that, why even bother? That sort of thing. It's like you're phoning it in. And so it's always, anytime there's a sequel to anything, and I say this with a lot of love, I'm looking at like Gremlins as an example.
Yeah.
You're hitting the same beats and or it becomes like a parody of itself. But with this, I'm really hoping that they kind of just make it, and Marvel sort of suffers from this too, of just being the prequel to the next chapter, you know?
Because the thing that I think is safe about that is that James Gunn has said he hasn't made any plans for Volume 3. So like just the fact that he hasn't made any plans, like he made this movie to stand on its own, not be worried about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now he does have to worry a little about where they're going for Infinity War.
Exactly.
But I think that we haven't seen Ego yet. Like we haven't even. I hope they never show that in a trailer. It's like weird enough that we know it, and they just like are free with that information because it's supposed to be the big mystery. But like, I think that like the fact that they haven't shown it, like okay, it'll be a cool reveal. We see Mantis, and her like empath powers. Great, and they're using her powers for humor, and that's like it all lines up. And she's supposed to be the savior. Like the heralded savior, all this stuff. So I'm very excited to see what they do. I think the trailer's good. A bunch more news to get to.
Yes.
Any other thoughts on the trailer?
Just that any doubts I might have, not that I had any doubts, but any doubts I even might have had have gone out the window. I'm really excited. And when can I pick up the soundtrack for the next volume?
Oh, trust me, they'll market it hard.
I'm sure they will.
Captain Trav is helping us out. It's the obelisk. Is
Oh,
the
okay.
squid? It's the squid creature. I like calling it squid creature though. Oh man. Yeah, and Lewis Cox says, "Baby Groot angry face man is too cute."
It's super cute.
It's
and yeah.
ridiculous.
I like what you said though. Like, I hope they don't I hope they don't go too marketability with it, where it's just like, this is just in here to sell toys. It's like, let these characters do their own thing.
I don't think they will. Marvel's not really known for that.
That's true.
So and especially Guardians of the Galaxy never was that.
Yeah.
But they also didn't think it was gonna be a thing. That was the one where they thought we might fail.
They were like, oh, let's see what happens.
Yeah. All right.
It worked out really well.
Let's talk Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
More casting news this week. Last week we talked a little bit about the first one, and we'll just a reminder, they cast Michelle Yeoh is joining the cast. She's
the captain, right?
She's not the captain of the Discovery.
Okay.
Because they've said that she is Captain Giorgio. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It might be Giorgio. I have no clue. It's Georgiou.
If anybody in the live chat wants to let us know how that is phonetically pronounced,
I don't
please
know.
do.
I don't know. Like, obviously, she is. I don't know what she's Asian, but I don't know if she's Chinese or Japanese. I don't want to say because I don't know. But if it's a Chinese name, that rings true to like young space travel, which because it's a prequel. And she's aboard the Shenzhou.
Okay, that makes sense.
Is that Japanese? I don't know my language as well, guys. So please don't lambaste me over this. But so she's joining the cast, and Doug Jones.
I love him so much.
Doug Jones. If we can throw up his photo, should be the next one. Yeah, there we go. You may know him from Falling Skies or The Strain, as well as a number of other places.
Mainly stuff directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. But he will be playing Lieutenant Saru, a Starfleet science officer and a member of an alien species that is new to the Star Trek universe. That makes sense. This guy often plays behind makeup.
Yeah, that's very true.
On The Strain, he played the Master for a while. Yeah, this makes sense. Like, and I'm excited that they're going to introduce something new.
Yeah.
To Star Trek canon. There was rumors about like minor aliens that would be appearing, and like they showed some antenna that like might have been this other race. But if they're I like that they have the freedom to do something new, even in a prequel.
Use what comes before, and then use that as a springboard, and just be able to tell their own story.
Yeah. And like, of course, we gotta get the science officers in there.
Yeah, of course.
But then let's jump down to the next one. This one like surprised me, but I'm like that works. That works. Anthony Rapp, who is best known for Rent, both on Broadway and in the
film,
movie, will be playing Lieutenant Stamets, an astromycologist.
What does an astromycologist do precisely?
He is a fungus expert.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which admittedly doesn't help.
Study spores, and I feel like that would be extremely useful in the Star Trek universe when you're out and about.
Yeah. I mean, look, I feel like they're finding all kinds of things. But sometimes you need a fungus expert in space. I don't know.
I feel like there's enough, like, maybe this is just like from like The Last of Us and things like that. I have a healthy fear of fungi.
It's not like I don't know why they would have, like, of course you might need a fungus expert, but like it's funny that like of all of like they've only announced 3 people in the cast.
And out of
all the roles that they have cast so far, a fungus expert has made headline. Like, it's just like it seemed like something that they would have like held back towards the show.
Like not even just a general like space botanist or anything like that. Specifically, a fungus expert. Maybe one of the bad guys, like the bigger bads, is going to be like this hive mind spore fungal thing. Like I said, I have a healthy fear of fungi.
Yeah, I mean those are just the first people cast, and like there's gonna be a whole bunch more obviously as we get closer to 2017 and the eventual.
Do they have
air date.
Do they have a premiere date set out yet?
I believe it is May. Let me double check on that because like it got pushed back, and then the next bit of news. As I look this up, we can start talking about this because the next bit of news is not a surprise because we've been sort of waiting to hear this for sure, but is big. It's a big change for the show. Brian Fuller is officially completely off the project. We knew he'd stepped down as showrunner, but then it wasn't clear how much he was going to be involved. He's still listed as an executive producer on the show because he was there for its creation. I believe he still maintains a created by on the show, and he had a hand in writing the first 2 episodes, but from there on, he's not going to be involved anymore. And the reason that he gave for this is that he is very busy doing post on American Gods, which is airing next year on Starz. American Gods, a Neil Gaiman book. Like, I can't imagine being in his shoes because I'm a big Star Trek fan, and I'm a huge fan of that book. But like, can you imagine being handed like, hey, do you want to run your own Star Trek series? the first one in 20-something years. Or was it whatever, a long time. And you're like, but I've already got this thing that is also awesome. And both are huge geek level like projects.
Well,
it's like
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine what it's like to have to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't run the Star Trek universe. I have to go do anything else. Like, that to me does not make a ton of sense. But like at the same time, knowing what he's working on, American Gods, and he's working on post-production. It's like you should never take post-production for granted. You really do need to make sure that your show comes together really well. And American Gods is such an interesting one to try to adapt. I just read it over the summer, and I get the hype. I'm hyped for the upcoming series too. So on the one hand, I don't blame, on the one hand, I feel really bad for him. On the other hand, I'm glad that he's doing the responsible thing and taking a step back and going, no, I need to make sure this project is finished to completion, and to have faith too that it will be taken care of. And again, at least it has the first 2 episodes give everybody else a place to kind of, a starting point, and that they can go from there. And yeah, it's good to have faith that the people who are going to be working on it are going to take care of it and are going to do Star Trek justice, because that's a tall order. But I think he probably feels like they're up to it. Yeah. I don't think he would step away if he didn't feel that way.
Yeah. And to confirm, it is coming out in May. Will be the broadcast premiere of the show, and then it will subsequently move to CBS's digital platform, All Access. All right, let's do a real quick check-in with sci-fi in real life, and then we've only got a limited amount of time to talk about the documentary. This one was cool. It's just it's not a huge story, but it was just something cool that happened in our backyard. Mm-hmm. So in Los Angeles, they've been trying to create a subway system
doing
recently.
The best they can.
They're trying. LA traffic and public transportation,
nonsense.
all terrible. But while they were digging out the subway line around Wilshire Boulevard, they found a mastodon buried in the dirt. And it's just obviously it's the ground, that's where you find fossils,
of course.
And LA is actually famous for finding a lot of these fossils. There's also a reason that we have LA has a lot of oil, or had. They've gotten a lot of it. But like, yeah, check that out. Like
Oh, gosh.
that's a mastodon like in the middle of where they were putting a subway line.
Okay, so what part of Wilshire was this?
I don't know exactly what the cross street was.
Okay.
But it was like somewhat near the tar pits, not quite right next
I was
to it.
just about to say, like, if it was anywhere near the tar pits, that makes me incredibly happy. I used to work right across the street from the tar pits.
As did I.
And I would go and, like, during my lunch hour, I would go and take walks around the tar pits and just think about, like, whether, and, like, in our parking structure, there were a lot of, like, just generally speaking, like stains because the foundation for the area around the tar pits is not super great.
Yeah,
and so knowing that we were walking above fossils, like just going to get lunch and things like that, that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, there's still lots of like it's a big area for like there's still finding stuff around there. Yeah, I still have like sense memory with like the smell of the tar pits, which is to most people really bad. I really love because I connect it with lunch breaks for like a year.
It's time for food.
Where I ate lunch. But yeah, so it was just cool. Something happened. Dinosaurs.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's not you know what I mean, guys.
Everybody wanted to be an archaeologist at some point during their childhood.
Yeah.
Like that is just a fact.
At least 90s, like people who
90s
grew up
kids.
during the 90s.
For sure.
Anyway, Encino Man confirmed. It's the chat. Anyway, let's talk about our main topic, which is this documentary For the Love of Spock. It's on Netflix. It just came out on Netflix a few days ago. If you guys haven't seen it, we're not going to be like super spoilery. It's a documentary, so there's not a lot to spoil. So feel free to stay or go watch it and come back. But so For the Love of Spock is a documentary that was created by Leonard Nimoy's son, and it explores the character Spock and what he meant to people over the ages, and Leonard Nimoy and his journey, like a lot of his life and how he came to creating the character, what that meant, how his life was affected after Star Trek went off the air, all of this stuff. It's a fascinating look at the two components that you need to make Spock, which is Leonard Nimoy and the character.
Exactly.
Obviously Zach Quinto too. He does a great job.
He
Not
does.
to besmirch Zach Quinto.
Well, we're talking about like the creation and inception of the character and the impact in pop culture and the inception of that pop cultural icon.
Yeah. Meg, just quick reactions. Like, what did you think? How did you feel after watching the documentary?
I'm not gonna lie. There was one or two times where I teared up a little bit. Like, I'll be honest. I didn't grow up with Star Trek. I know a lot of people did. Like, one of my friends, Alex, she grew up. Her dad was a huge Trekkie. She loved Star Trek. She loved the exploration of it. It was not anything that my parents, got me to watch. I didn't start really getting into Star Trek until the remake came out, and I went, oh, okay, cool. And when the remake came out, or the reboot, whatever, time travel, I went back to the original series and started watching a lot of it. And so watching this documentary, it was really cool seeing just how much of the character really was created by Leonard Nimoy. From everything from the salute to the minimalist portrayal of his emotions, it was really, really interesting to see how, because again, that character is so important to the show and it's so important to a lot of people. It was great seeing that character develop. That was probably my favorite bit of it, is just seeing the little components come together to form this character.
Yeah. It was very cool to see like how much like the Spock character had. You think sort of like in your memory, you sort of think of him as, I don't want to say secondary, because he's as much like, and they go into this, like he's as much of a star of the show as Kirk ever was, but like I didn't know that Leonard Nimoy was the first person cast on the show.
Yeah, that he's the only person that stayed from the original pilot. Like, and that Gene Roddenberry like had him in mind when he was thinking of Spock. He's like, I want this actor specifically to play him.
And that's the part that's crazy. Like I knew that about the original pilot, but which obviously didn't have Kirk in it. But I never knew that like Leonard Nimoy was literally like, they didn't have anyone else even auditioned, and like Roddenberry brought him in, and and like the show was like sort of built around Leonard Nimoy as like the perfect person, and hearing about the methods between like the first guy they shot the pilot with, and then with William Shatner, and how it was different, and like the kind of acting that they went into it. Like, I'm not really an actor. I perform in some way, in some places. Like, there's a difference. But it was fascinating to see like how he approached the character as an actor, and like you think of him as cold, but that's never the way that he was approached.
Yeah. That everything was it was internal, like every little thing, so that those brief moments where you do see emotion. Leonard Nimoy talked about watching a performer sing, and he was mostly keeping his hands down by his sides. And so when he did move, and when he did do a lot of dynamic, bombastic movements, it was really impactful, and he chose to do the same for Spock. And so it was great, and it was also really great hearing about the kind of the way it in fact impacted his family life, both the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Because whenever with fame, also there's a lot of downsides to the cult of personality, and you saw the impact that it had on his family, and it's both tragic, but it's also great to see the way that people can move past that as well.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit like just like our favorite like moments from the documentary. I think for me, the part that stood out the most was the creation of the Vulcan salute, the live long and prosper. I'm Jewish. I had no idea that came from Judaism.
No, none whatsoever.
And that brings a whole other level of meaning to it. Beyond the fact that like Leonard Nimoy came up with it himself, but just like the idea it's supposed to like be similar to the shape of the Shema, and like it's a lot about like Judaism is a lot about like life and like all of these things that like go into it, and the benefit of like like the fact that he saw something at temple
when he was a kid,
and it stuck
affected
with
him.
And now it's this thing that like you just like do reflexively. Like I remember as a kid, like I couldn't quite do it, and now my hand can just like fall into it.
I still have a hard time doing it. Like my fingers go forward a little bit.
They had to make an emoji, like a standard emoji of the live long and prosper, because that's how much this is like recognized now.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that was absolutely fantastic. And again, learning that it came from him, it was something he asked the director about. He's like, shouldn't we have some sort of greeting for this? Oh, what do you want to do? That was great. That was fantastic. Yeah. I think I have two favorite moments. I think I have and they sprinkle this a little bit throughout the entire documentary, is just hearing what Spock meant to certain people, like for the disenfranchised, for the nerds who got beat up, for the people who always felt like a little bit of an alien or an outsider. Spock was somebody that resonated with them. And, for anybody who kind of felt internal conflict, Spock was somebody they could relate to. So that was really cool. I think from a visual perspective, the effigy at Burning Man was really incredible.
Oh my God, yes. I did not know that they did that, but I guess it was in 2015 after Leonard Nimoy passed away. And they did a very I really loved in the documentary that they had a very, obviously we all knew going into watching this that he had passed away.
Yeah.
And he had given his blessing to this project before he passed. Like this was already sort of in the works.
Yeah, exactly.
And there were that many Trek fans that like going to Burning Man, which I've never been to, so I can't even imagine what that's like. And they built what looked like a giant like walking row of like I don't know how many feet tall like Starfleet insignias made of wood, and then people put up like the pictures
tons of pictures
of Leonard Nimoy and Spock, and like then they just lit it on fire
because that's what you do at Burning Man.
Well, it's also how you deal with Vulcan
Yeah,
remains and
exactly.
everything. So it made sense.
It made
It was
sense.
just like, whoa, fire.
It made sense, in context. But like, if you're just walking by and you're like, why are they burning the Starfleet
Yeah.
insignia? But no, it was a wonderful. I think it was a really beautiful fan send off.
Yeah. I think the whole documentary is a great thing for fans because what it did is it gave you that window. It showed
Yeah.
you the fans' view, and then it opened up the window into what was going on behind the scenes. Like everyone's heard all the stories over the year, like the infighting or like different like oh, like we don't these actors don't like each other, like this happened, like. But like we got to know, this documentary helped us get to know Leonard Nimoy, and also just like the fact that like you were saying about like the idea of being an outsider and like that's what Spock meant to people, and the fact that they thought about that going in, and it's like of course they've thought about it, but to hear it is a totally different thing. To know that like that wasn't an accident, all of these things were on purpose.
Yeah, and again, this is also the other thing to keep in mind is that for a son, this is basically a son's love letter to his dad. And towards the end, when he's reading the letter that his dad wrote him, like that's where I like definitely teared up. I'm like, I'm not crying, you're crying. Shut up, it's fine. And just the fact that this is definitely his son's way of saying goodbye and also honoring his memory, both the good and the bad that came with, having this part of, having this as a part of their lives, because there's good and bad that comes with everything. And for them to definitely embrace the good and to look back on it fondly and to look back on it with like this sense of things weren't always great, but at the end of the day, this is where we were. And it was really beautiful. It really was.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to ask you about with this, I thought we should talk about like what does Spock mean to us?
That's a good question.
I'll start.
Go
Give
for
me
it.
a chance to think about it. For me, Spock is he represents this like the logic side of me, like that way of thinking is so built into who I am, even to among things that like you don't think of logic. Like I spend a lot of my time writing comedy, and I approach it with a very logical point of view. And I always think of like Spock is always in the back of my head whenever I think about like, oh, what's the logic of this? Like, what's the logic of this pancake coming to life sketch? But like I can't help it. Like that's the way my brain works.
Pirates would need insurance.
I have done that sketch before because they might. But even something stupid as that, like there's a logic, and like that's if there's a personification of the logic part of my brain, it's
Exactly.
Spock.
Yeah, if there's like a character you need to kind of like, well, let's talk about this, like from a logical standpoint. Of course, Spock is going to be the go-to person for that. For me, it's a little bit different because, again, like I said, I didn't grow up with this character. This is a character I learned to love and appreciate in my adulthood. And as such, that I kind of the opposite for me. The thing that really resonates to me about Spock isn't the logical side of things. It is that he is one of the most empathetic characters in Star Trek. He feels like so much deep emotion, and you'd never know it just by watching him. Like it's something you have to watch the series like as it goes on and see it develop. And it's those moments where you get brief glimpses of it where you're like, oh my gosh, like you have no idea like how much is actually going on the inside because you just see this cold exterior. And that's something that always, so for me, Spock means a lot because a lot of times I'm kind of the opposite. Like if I'm feeling sad, I'll usually put a smile on. So like seeing Spock be this cold exterior but feel a lot of deep emotions, feel a lot of love and a lot of empathy, that's what he means to me. It's like, what you see on the outside isn't necessarily what you're getting.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a great way to close out our thoughts on For the Love of Spock. As we said, it's on Netflix right now. Also, I think on iTunes and Blu-ray and all that. But Netflix is the most prevalent way.
Yeah,
you can
it's
watch
probably
it.
going to be the most easily accessible.
Yeah, which is why we thought it was a good time to review this one. And before we close out, I thought we could do a quick sci-fi moment of the week from us and our fans. Let's first I want to give some shout outs to some fans who sent in their moments. And Megan, you can collect your thoughts. Because I don't think I warned you about this segment.
Is that just best?
What's your
bit?
what's the sci-fi moment this week that stood out the most to you? Captain Travis. Thank you for always returning as a fan, Captain Travis. So that he started reading the graphic novel Animosity by a person who by Margaret Bennett. And he describes it as Walking Dead meets Animal Farm.
Whoa!
Which is super intriguing. I've not read that one, but that's cool. That's a cool one. Chill Cat at the Chill Cat says they too finally saw Arrival.
Ooh!
Such a great movie. And the latest Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, which we already
Yes.
talked about. Great. For me, my sci-fi moment of the week was on last Monday, on the Tomorrow Show with our executive producer Kevin Undergaro. George Takei came onto the show.
No!
Oh yeah, we met George Takei.
Dude!
Yeah, you thought the documentary and all the news was the only Star Trek things happening. No, this was like a week of Trek. Yeah, George Takei came in, talked to Kevin for an hour and a half about everything. He talked a lot about Star Trek and some stuff from the set. There's some fun banter about maybe he might have hooked up with an extra, but no comment. I seriously check it out. And also about his new musical Allegiance, and a lot of what he went through with internment camps and what that means to today, LGBT issues. It's a fantastic interview. You can find it on iTunes. Just look for The Tomorrow Show, or it's on Facebook page, The Tomorrow Show, or I think it's also on our The Tomorrow Show YouTube page. Go check it out. I swear, it's awesome. Megan, what about you? And then we'll close.
Mine
out.
sounds incredibly mundane by comparison. You had George Takei. Oh my gosh,
All right.
that is so cool. So mine is again, and this is something you were there for: the return of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
And just everything going on with Robbie Reyes's character and the Doctor Strange stuff that they're doing. If you guys aren't watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., first of all, where have you been? Second of all, get caught up. The first few seasons are on Netflix. It's definitely worth it. And talking about Robbie Reyes, the new Ghost Rider came out this week on Wednesday. I haven't had the chance to read it yet, but I am so jazzed. I'm just incredibly excited.
Yeah, it's a good one. And Rob Shank in the chat says the CW crossover.
Yeah,
Which is good. I'm publicly calling them out on air. Supergirl refers to their little team as Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
No, that's not how that works.
Supergirl.
No.
I saw that. I was like, oh, no, they didn't.
That's a Marvel term. You are not allowed to use those words.
I was just like, wow. But also some amazing moments in that. There's a great Superman Returns reference that I won't spoil, but it's there and it's spectacular.
I am so jazzed for
Mixel
Mixelplick. That makes me so happy.
Mixelpix is coming. All right, we got to wrap out. We're running over our time. Thank you, computer. All right. So that's going to do it for Sci-Fi Weekly. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson, ThatZachWilson. Also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz. Right now, it's just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But coming next year, 2017, we're going to be talking about... I'm gonna be covering Grimm is coming back. Doctor Who comes back at some point. We'll talk about the holiday special when that comes out. All that stuff. Be sure to follow Sci-Fi Weekly at Sci-Fi Weekly. Megan?
I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. I am also on a bunch of shows at our sister network, AfterBuzz TV, and I write articles for The Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for Sci-Fi Weekly, the show where we are always just one lab coat away from being real scientists. Have a good night.
Producers Maria Questions or comments? I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. Producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.